and welcome to this session with Cesar Hernandez from TomEE Tribe, and he's going to talk about paving the way with Jakarta EE and TomEE Tribe and Apache TomEE. So take it away, Cesar, and good luck.
Thank you much, Ivar. Okay, so welcome to this session. I know we are just ramping up the day. We had a great session with Mario previously, and for all of those that have been catching up the entire event, this is the first session that, as far as I saw yesterday, is talking about Jakarta. Jakarta EE, so feel free to send your comments. This is not, if you are seeing the live event, take advantage of that. We already have Cameron giving a nice comment there about that we should have, or we should start this session with some kind of music because of the Big Bang approach that we're gonna see in a couple minutes why he's referring to that. So yeah, make sure to say hi. I see Chandra now connected, so thank you much for being all here. I would like to hear for all of those who are online, where are you catching up this stream? Which country? So we can say hi and make this interactive as possible. Otherwise, this will be a recorded session. So we need to take advantage of the live approach. So first, thank you much for the invitation for the Java Champions Conference. It's been the first edition. It's a great honor to be here. Hi, Cameron for Toronto again. Great to see you. And then we have one slide to introduce myself. I like to, for all of those that is the first time that you are seeing me here presenting a session, I would like to describe myself as a developer who likes to learn and then share a little bit of what I just kept in my mind. So, and apart from that, as Ivar mentioned, I'm a software engineer for TomEE Tribe. I like to be really touch with the communities. I used to travel a lot around Latin America and other parts of the world, sharing and learning, as I like to call it. And this session is focused mainly on all those questions that may be happening right now around Jakarta EE. For all of those that is the first time that you're hearing Jakarta EE, please send a message with +1. This is the first time you are hearing the term Jakarta EE, so I can know how to drive this session a little bit better for you. But for all those that are already familiar with what happened with Java EE and Jakarta EE, this is a catch-up session of what's going on, what has just happened by the end of last year, where we are right now, and what we are expecting for next releases, and obviously we are going to do some demo how to migrate or how to start testing right away your previous applications. So this is a just summary. I see a couple of -1, okay, from Cameron. Thank you. Thank you, Alexander, for Germany, Rafael from Rome, so Toronto, awesome. So this is one slide for trying to recap what just happened in the industry for many years. In terms of how the transition was for J2E to Java EE and now to Jakarta EE since 2017. So this has been an entire process. We still complain a little bit seeing in the community, to see jobs referring to J2EE. We tried our best to evangelize, say the new way to call is Java EE, and now we need to do that again. I think that's within our DNA as Java developers to keep embracing changes and adopting new things. So now it's Jakarta EE. Hello, Tiago. Nice to see you, man. So yeah, for all of those that I think are viewing the live stream, you are really familiar with this. And we are gonna talk about the latest and greatest what just happened. I'm gonna go really quick, really brief with this slide, because this is another question that I usually have when I am talking either about Jakarta EE or microprofile. What is the relationship? What's going on with this? So we have the Eclipse Foundation that currently is hosting 2 main projects among other ones that the Eclipse Foundation has. So side note, Eclipse is not just an IDE, it's actually a foundation. So we have EE4J, which is the top level project that within all that has Jakarta EE, within all the other projects. And we also have another top level project, which is microprofile. Right now there is a lot of involvement from the community, Java user groups, from all over the world contributing in both projects. So whenever you hear Microfile and Jakarta E, that doesn't mean they are competitors project. They're actually bind work really well, and in this case Microfile depends on Jakarta E for some stuff, but I'm not gonna talk about Microfile in this session, but I just want to clear out where we are at this point, because this is a common question that I usually get, so I try to anticipate that. Hello from Belgium. Awesome, I'm just to see you. So apart from those two projects, obviously Eclipse Foundation other projects. So again, this is based on my brief 2020 travel at the beginning of the last year, when people approached to me talking about Eclipse as just as an IDE, but no, Eclipse is also a foundation that has many projects, and within those projects we have Jakarta E and Microfile, and you are gonna see why this is important to keep in mind during the process of the session, because we are gonna be talking about back and forward between these two projects at some point. So remember that back, for all of those that doesn't know, back in 2017 or maybe 16, I don't recall right now, I have here in my notes 17, Oracle said, okay, Jakarta E is gonna be Java E is gonna be donated, and people will say, okay, that's fine, the next release is gonna be from within the Eclipse Foundation, we're gonna have participant members, we're gonna have community, but we need to understand what was actually donated, and in this case, we have the core artifacts, of course, the APIs, the Java documents itself, the schemas. Then we have the specification documents, all the contracts and what the technology is supposed to do in terms of each API. And then we have the TCK, which is the test compatibility kit, who makes sure that anyone who is interested in implementing one of the specification to create an implementation complies with that specification. So why this is important? Let's see a couple of numbers. That means that in terms of all the component codes of line, the line of code are about, let's say, roughly 13 million lines of code in 95K files. Just to give you a point of comparison, the World of Warcraft is about 5.2 million of lines, and the Linux kernel in the version 2.6 is about 5 million lines of code. So definitely Java E, it's a heavy lines of code project. I'm not going to get into how we actually calculate those lines. My point here is a big project, right? This is something that for more than 20 years had been collected great contributions. Right now, in terms of participation about what's going on with Jakarta, there are more than 80 active contributors, and this is growing every day, every month. More than 200 designated committers. You see a rate of 1,000 commits. With the latest release of Jakarta E in December, there were a lot of involvement. There were a lot of specification repositories. There was a lot of activities, and by that time there were more than 9,000 PRs just within some of those projects. When we talk about the strategic members, enterprise members, it doesn't matter where they are located, in the sense that there is the same ecosystem that you used to have in Java EE, we have in Jakarta E in terms of participation, and we have been having always the openness to contain communities, to embrace Java user groups, to be part of the entire Jakarta EE ecosystem. So this is just an overview of some of the companies that had been involved. Okay, so thank you for the subtitle there. I saw the Jakarta URL. So okay. During that donation, a couple of changes has to be made. One of them was, of course, the branding name. That was an easy one, I will call it. There was a survey to define the new name, the new logo. And why I'm mentioning this and why this is important, it is important because just for changing the name, the new brand name and the logo, the project Jakarta E embrace the community to have a vote, and this is really important because it's going to reflect how we are gonna be evolving Jakarta E from now on. we are really open to have you actively collaborating with your communities and with your companies. So the second change that has to be made, because that was not donated, was the JAVAX namespace. And what this actually mean is that we actually need to change the package that we have from Java EE into JAVAX namespace. There are some caveats that I'm going to mention in the next slide, but the key point is that, okay, we need to make a change. And for that, there was the approach of, okay, let's replace everything. Everything is gonna be fine. Let's do a egrip, and it's gonna be fine. We all, I said, okay, it's gonna be okay. I haven't finished counting the lines. Now that we saw it's 13 million lines of code, we need to make sure that things that were working are still working, and now we need to apply this change. But there are some things, apart from the restriction. On-change APIs can still use the JAVAX namespace. But if you want to evolve and start to adopting new specs or implementing new specs in the platform or the web profile, and then you want to actually do some upgrades to the existing ones, you eventually will need to make some changes. For example, for the JAVAX namespace in the donation, something that was not allowed is, for example, adding a value to an enum. So when you are reading this, these bullets here, the point is that there was the need for making a decision, and that's why Cameron mentioned the big bang. And what is all this thing about the big bang? Well, the big bang approach was, let's make the change once for all, or we can do eventually, that was the other option that we had back 2 years ago, I will say, to start adopting this package migration. So the big one was the decision that we all made. And when I say we, I'm not just talking about the companies or the community members that are involved. Actually, there was also a survey. It was an open invitation for you to have a voice and say, okay, I think the big bang approach is okay, or is not because of this and that. And it was an inclusive decision. But then it's kind of complicated, 13 million lines of code. There was a change that needs to be made. Nowadays that Jakarta E9 was released, I think it's important to reinforce the need or the awareness that this change is not only for all of those that implement an application server or for open source project like TomEE, like Apache TomEE or any other, but actually this impacts also the toolset that you are using right now. Profiling applications, IDEs did this migration too, JVM agents, and so on and so on. So this is a change that needs to still be replicated, and I think now that Jakarta E was now released, eventually as a final user are gonna start adopting, or you as a developer, as an architect, or as a CTO, you're gonna start realizing that also the toolset needs to evolve, and hopefully at this point, the toolset that you are using already did the migration or already provide you with some patch for your current version and so on. So this is something that you need to keep in mind. The title of the session is Paving the Way with Jakarta E, because it's not just that let's talk about one application server or one specific thing. We are trying to see the overall ecosystem here. For all of those who are joining, feel free to keep shooting the questions. I am happy to be resolving them. We have more people joining from United States, from Belgium, Tunisia, and we have a question here. Cameron says, let me read it. Okay, he's talking about something different. Okay, so this is important, and we have this data sheet that you can catch up and you can promote within your Java user groups, within your communities, to see this panorama. Then when the Jakarta E9 release was implemented, I have to change here the cupcake, because this time was the celebration for the milestone was a cupcake, but the celebration for the actual release was a cake. So for all of those who missed the release, you can catch it up. You can go to in YouTube and you can check there the clips YouTube channel, and you can catch up with the release. But long story short, the Jakarta E9 release from December last year has this change already implemented. It has all the APIs, all the documentation, both the platform and the web and also the web profile specification were updated with this package migration. So we did it. We finally released Jakarta EE9. Another question that I have when I'm talking about Jakarta EE9 is, okay, what is the difference between Jakarta EE8? The Java namespace. That's what I will say is the big difference. And for all of those that are just seeing this for the first time, what is the difference between Java EE8 and Jakarta EE8? There is no difference in terms of functionality. It's just the Jakarta EE8 was just the release of Java EE8 from within the entire Eclipse ecosystem. So it is what it is. We are at this point. We all, with the communities and all the participant members and the project itself, we are starting to plan Jakarta EE9 next. There are a lot of requests for Java 11. People also mention, okay, but what about Java 14, 17? Why we don't jump there? So if you are in this position and you have an opinion, join the mailing list. I'm gonna put those links at the end of the session, because right now we are in this phase. If you haven't migrated, the demo of this session is gonna cover this part of how you can start navigating from the migration, either from Java EE7, Java EE8, or Jakarta EE8 to Jakarta EE9. So we are gonna do that in this session. And for the demo, and also giving you another example of how an open source project already did the migration and is currently working on it, is Apache TomEE. In this case, Apache TomEE, for all of those that haven't heard it before, you can think of Apache TomEE of Apache Tomcat plus Java EE, as I like to call it. Obviously, I will change this eventually once the Jakarta EE namespace is more and more recognized. The Jakarta EE as a brand is Apache TomEE is Apache Tomcat plus Jakarta EE. So itself, Apache TomEE provides you with many components that can go in the line of the web profile. It's built from Apache components, microprofile compliant. There is another question. That is another question that we usually get on this kind of events. Okay, so that means you are talking about that in Jakarta EE9, you have a namespace change, how that will interact with microprofile. Do I need to worry about my company going for, or my open source project using microprofile or Jakarta EE? And the answer is that these products complement each other. They don't fight against each other. So if you have your Jakarta EE application, you can easily adopt microprofile implementation. If you're using microprofile application server, most of those application servers already support. Actually, I would say 100% of 99% of those application servers already support Jakarta. So it's just a matter of you have now a big choice from APIs, and you just need to build your architecture on top of that without worrying that you need two different things. They're actually in the same field. So the latest release of Apache TomEE is 9 milestone 3. What the milestone 3 means, it means that we are just around almost finished the TCK process, and we are as a community actively working on that for finishing this migration. And a couple of words and more information about this project, you can find it on Apache tomee.apache.org. Within the Apache TomEE, we have different flavors, as you usually will see. We have a comparison chart. It depends how big the server that you want to implement needs to have in terms of APIs. In this case, for the demo that I'm going to show, we're going to use JAX-RS version of TomEE, the microprofile version, I will say. But here you will see some really common APIs from Java Enterprise, Java Mail, Enterprise Java Bean, JSF, JPA, and so on. JAX-RS, obviously. So when we are talking about what the server has inside, apart from microprofile APIs, we also have this. Okay, so at some point when the big bang approach was the way to go, we need to decide as an open source project within Apache. Tell me what was the path to follow. We had two options at that point. We could just make the replacement of all the source code and create maybe another branch, another branch saying this is the branch for Apache TomEE 8 with all the Javax namespace as it is. And then we have another branch for Jakarta EE9 with all the package migration done. But then we will have to start thinking about how we are gonna make the patching. We need to backport from one branch to another one, So in that regard, the second option or the other alternative was to do the change at bytecode level, which was finally the decision by the community. And for that, what this bytecode level means, for those that are not familiar with, is that after you compile your source code, is in the bytecode that was generated when you can make the change and generate a second version of that bytecode that actually has the package migration done for you. So your base code still has the Javax namespace, but at bytecode level, you generate a second binary, a second WAR file, you can think of that, or a second jar file containing at that point already the package migration within a bytecode level. And for that, we use two things. The Eclipse Transformer, which is a really great project that you can catch up and start seeing if that is the option for you. That doesn't mean this option needs to be applied or is the only one. There can be many options if depending of the context of your application, of your system, you can go for either this or the approach of actually just doing the migration, generate another branches and move on. And the second thing is the TomEE plugin is a Maven plugin. I'm sorry, that we use to make this possible. So what we got from this decision is to have no branches, no forks, no merge conflicts, and we just generate those two binaries separated. Why, Cesar, you explain me how the community of TomEE did this, how that is going to impact on my code, because I am a user, I use the technology, I don't implement application servers. So the answer for that is that you can apply this approach if you want to your applications. So we are gonna see this in the demo in a couple of slides away. Don't worry, I know you have been looking for me trying to gambling around my demo and see if it fails or not. But we are gonna get there. Eventually, I'm gonna start sweating. Don't worry. At this point, we are 95 past the rate of Jakarta E web profile TCK. At the same time, this allows us to actually focus on Jakarta EE8 TCK. So we are catching up there. It has been a great effort from within the community. And if you want to be part of this effort, feel free to join and contribute too. We have a couple of questions so far. Let me see. And thank you for all of those that are asking questions, but actually I see some people starting to reply. So let me hear one. This is a great question. Okay, Marans, it says, how does JCP will in the future relate to the specs evolution within Eclipse Foundation? Will they need to collaborate? Will one be influenced by the other? So let me give you a little bit of context more to your question. So, if I didn't understood correctly your question, feel free to reply. But the process for right now, the process for all the APIs that we are seeing here, and from this and the rest of the APIs that make the universe of the entire project of Jakarta EE, these are being managed under the Eclipse Foundation process. This is no longer being managed by the JCP, I will say. These specs has a specific specification groups. There are weekly calls that all you are invited to join for each of these specifications. You can join each of the mailing lists of these specifications, and all this is done within the Eclipse specification process. The JCP remains active and is currently working on all the other Java related APIs. When I say Java, I will say the language, the platform itself, There is a really great Java in education initiative at this point at the JCP and actually within the communities and having the JCP as part of all this movement. But I just want to make the separation. If there will be some kind of collaboration with, obviously, is what I'm saying. We are, Jakarta is open to collaborate. So at this point, we embrace collaboration within the project, but I just want to make sure that to provide you the context that all these APIs are being managed within the Eclipse process. What is the reason for the namespace change? That's the second question that we have. It was not donated. That's it. It is what it is. Oracle donated. It didn't donate the Java E. That's why we need to change the name to the brand, I will say, to Jakarta E. And it didn't donate completely, or didn't donate the Javax namespace. So we had to do the migration, right? Thank you, Alexander, for replying. He stated Oracle owns it, the namespace. Okay, thank you. Anbu replies, there is no JCP under Eclipse, new spec process defined by Eclipse. Thank you much. Guys, you know more than me, so we should do a panel the next time. Okay, another question. Thank you for all the questions that you're sending. Does the TCK needs to be passed in full to be Jakarta E compliant? It has the first part of the question. Is there plans to split TCKs in component reflecting each EE spec alone? That's a great question. I'm gonna go, we have more questions. I'm gonna continue then, but let's tackle these two first. Yes, if you want to implement an application server, or you want to create an implementation of one specification, you need to pass the TCKs. I'm trying to answer the second question. Each of these APIs, most of them has what is called standalone TCKs. So for example, one thing is to test, let me give you an example. CDI has the standalone CDI TCK, but obviously then within the platform, you will have the platform TCK that actually take care of making the test within the entire set of APIs. But the short answer is yes. If you want to be if you want to pass if you want, you need TCK to be an implementation of one of those specifications. Let me go here to Jakarta EE. Compatible implementation. That's the term that compatible implementation is the term. We are moving from this term of certification to actually Jakarta E compatible. So I don't know if you are seeing my screen right now. Okay, you are not seeing my screen, but let me share another screen. I'm gonna share my entire screen here because I think it's easier for you to catch up what I'm talking about here. Ibar, if you can just click my screen because I am sharing, but I guess you are not seeing. Thank you much. So as you can see here, you see this band here, this Jakarta E compatible. So this is what you get once you pass the TCK for any, in this case, implementation. And here you have the Jakarta EA, Jakarta E9, and all the products that are compatible. Let's go to the next one. Oracle is keeping the Java trademark. Okay. And yeah, thank you much, Cameron, for the context there. Okay, Ambu is saying that he cannot paste the link, but there is a separate mail list for E4J. There were various discussion going about the TCK. I'm gonna provide you two things here. One is where can I know more about how to join to Jakarta E? If you go to the main Jakarta.ee, there is connect section. If you click this, you will see all the mailing lists, the Jakarta E community mailing list, the working group, and then you can go for each of the projects that we just talked about, and you will find all the projects, and all of these projects have a specific mailing list, repositories, and so on. So you can let's see. Okay, Chandra said screen. Okay, yeah, screen is good now. So you can go here. I think the easiest way is just to go to jakarta.e/connect, and from there you can join many mailing lists that you may be interested in. One of those projects that now was replied by Anuv is the TCK. There is the Jakarta TCK dev mailing list. And what I mentioned this is important because right now what the discussions around in that mailing list are related with the fact that for all of those that are not aware with this, the TCK obviously exists since the early days of the technology and is written in JT harness. It doesn't mean it's not using, most of the TCKs are not using still JUnit, Archilium, or whatever you nowadays needs. Somebody will say test containers, but the point is using the foundation is still under a technology from that has been evolving. It had been evolving, but remember that the TCK was not open source before the donation. The TCK was not open source, so we as a community didn't have visibility over what was going on with the TCK for the platform and web profile. So now that we are all trying to see what's coming next, what we can take advantage of. One of the conversations is actually what Anvu is mentioning here about modernizing or re-architecture a little bit how TCK works. And this is important too. It's another option for you to join and contribute. So yeah. Welcome you. I welcome you to participate. Okay. Hopefully I have been replying all the questions. If you have more, keep them coming. That's the value of the live streaming from my point of view. So let's do now the code. Let's see how this hopefully works. I have not recorded any video for this, so it's gonna be a live example here. So what we are gonna try to do here is to do a migration from a Java EE application, an example application, to Jakarta E9. Again, we have two options. We can just replace the package name. That is just a replace within our IDE or whatever we're using. So I'm not gonna show that. Instead, I'm gonna show the approach that you can find within the Apache TomEE project that you can apply to your projects too. So I'm gonna jump to my IDE and start navigating that, and then let me see if I can turn off my camera here so you can see full screen the thank you much, Ivar. Okay, so let's see. Step number one, the easiest one, get the binary, right? So we are gonna use the latest version of Apache TomEE 9, which is a milestone, not ready for production, but you can start having the migration for Jakarta E9 test in this version. I already did this. We unzip the zip file. We provide the proper rights and execution for Catalina.sh. For all of those that are familiar with Tomcat, this is exactly the same. And now what we're gonna do is just to start our application server. So for that, we'll go here and we're just gonna run our application server. Nothing so complicated here. Step number one, completed. Step number two, okay. What are we gonna do now is that I'm gonna paste these slides. You can in my Twitter, Cesar HGT, after this session. So the important part of this recipe is that in the second step, we are gonna use on purpose a specific version of the Apache TomEE examples, in this case 8.04. The latest is 8.05. It can work too. But the point here is that these are Java EE, or I will say Java EE, Jakarta E8 projects. That means they have the JAVAX namespace. They hasn't been migrated. So this is how you can get it. You unzip the entire project, you go to the examples folder, and you're gonna find this list of examples. Within those examples, we're gonna show today the movie fund rest project, which I have here on my IDE. So if we inspect what is going on with this project, you will see that it contains the Let me see, these are plugins, dependency plugin. Let me go to the dependency management. Okay, we have this for test, for Archelian, Java EE API, as you can see here. This is on purpose. This means you have your Java EE 8 application. And some other dependencies like JUnit, TomEE embed. This is for testing, command lines, more Archelian, Ziploc for some other stuff, Badwin.js because it has a UI, jQuery. So, okay, it's a Java EE Jakarta EE project. So let's open here and check out a couple of classes. So we have movie rest. If we go to this class and if we open the import sections, you will see that we have the JAVAX namespace on all these JAX-RS endpoints. So nothing fancy in terms. It's really straightforward. We have also, let's open this import, JAVAX per system. We are gonna use HSQL for storing our movies and so on. So this is a movie catalog, right? Okay, easy peasy is just a Java EE Jakarta EE8 project. What are we gonna do now is that if we go to here, you will see that within the project, we have the plugin from the transformer plugin that I mentioned. We create this classifier for Jakarta EE9, and okay, yeah. So we have the plugin, and what are we going to do? What are we going to do now is actually to trigger this. So we're going to execute map and verify. So this will generate our binaries. And the magic behind this live migration is being done, or is going to be done once the tests are executed by this plugin, along with the TomEE one, the transformer. So we are gonna have two WAR files at the end of the build process. Obviously, I am running a demo, so my laptop is slow. That is common on demos. So what we're gonna do is that we are gonna have two binaries. One that is going to say movie font rest WAR file, but another one that is going to contain the Jakarta EE9 as part of the name. We are gonna inspect this with a decompiler to see the change being made automatically by the transformer plugin. So this is when things get interesting, because then the challenge is to see if this deploys in TomEE EE9, which has already implemented the namespace change. So if we go back, okay, if we go here, you will see that at some point we have, I think it's easier to see just the target folder. There you go. We have the Java EE Jakarta EE compatible version, and we have the binary version compatible with Jakarta EE9. This is the one that we are gonna inspect now. And for that, we're gonna use JD, the compiler here. Let me go straight here. And let's go to, remember the class, the movie rest class that we had here, the JAVAX WS and all that. All this package has been already migrated for you, or for us in this demo. We go to classes, movie font, rest, movie rest. You see? Here, all the classes were migrated at bytecode level. So the new binary is compatible with Jakarta application servers in this case. If we go also to the movie class, the one that has the persistent and the entity annotations, you will see that the package now is jakarta.persistence, jakarta.xml bind annotation, and so on. So this is a really fast way that you now have available for taking one of your application and start adding these plugins and see what is the output that you get. You deploy your application, you apply your testings over that. Or if you are using Archelian or test container, well, it's the same, right? We are just generating a second binary that is available, ready for be deployed on a Jakarta EE application server. So let's do that. Let's deploy now the application into the application server that we have. I'm gonna stop the compiler here, and I'm gonna drop literally this WAR file into the web apps folder from the Apache TomEE instance that we have. So eventually we're gonna start seeing here some activity. Let me go here, and then the last step in this really quick demo is to actually test if everything is working. And for that, let me just copy and paste here. So the first thing that we're gonna do is to load the endpoints. It's the equivalent. The post endpoint is actually movie load ret. We're actually going to create a couple of movies and store them in the on-memory database. And the second step is starting to query that application to see if the interaction with the new deployed application is working as expected. Okay, so as you can see here, we're able to query, we are able to add, and also I want to remember that we saw a couple of pages. Let me show you here. This was not the one that I want to show. There you go. So as you can see here, the UI is working as expected. Maybe let's change to 2021. Okay, so the application is working, and this is the demo that I like to show. Is a really easy. Just follow this recipe, and you are gonna be able to have this feeling of migrating an application using the bytecode level approach. So then you can replicate this and have a point of comparison. The Apache TomEE project has all these documented. Let me see where my tabs are. Have all these documented in the website. If you go to tomee.apache.org, you will have within the documentation section, you will have the Jakarta, the TomEE 9. I'm sorry, the TomEE 9 examples. And from there, you can go and check many of these examples that you can correlate with the current technologies you are using and you are interested to migrate. And then at the end of all this documentation for each of these type of example applications, you will have the summary of all the packages that are involved within that particular example. So this is really useful if you have a specific integration. Let me say with, let's go here, let's see some example. For example, if you have Archelian or JMS, or you are using a specific frameworks for your application that you're wondering if they already did the migration, and if yes, how that interact with the current Jakarta EE8 assets or Java EE87 assets that you currently have. So more resources. There is a couple of articles here, the documentation that I just mentioned that describes all this process in detail. Feel free to keep sending the questions. And I invite you also to keep contributing to the open source. I think we contribute, and at the same time we learn. This session, I provided this session by the end of last year before the release, and I had been, seeing interaction in the mailing list of people discovering new use cases, new issues, new possibilities. So there are many options for you to contribute from within the entire ecosystem. So in case of Apache TomEE, this is the URL that you can use to just subscribe to the mailing list and say, hi, how can I help? And from there, it will depend on what you want or what do you like to contribute to move forward with the project. And for Jakarta EE, remember we have the jakarta.ee/connect URL. I show you that you have the community mailing list as the first stop, but then you also have the project mailing list, you have a Slack, newsletter updates, and so on, YouTube channel. So there is a lot of content for you to choose from. In terms of Jakarta EE9 and beyond, as I mentioned previously, right now there are ongoing discussions for the plan for Jakarta EE9.next. But also there within the community, with the with ambassadors, Jakarta ambassadors, there is actually a lot of contribution with regard to what's coming next, what will be, what are APIs, features, and basically we require you to actually join the conversation and help us to shape the future of Jakarta E9. We know that the challenges are there. There are common challenges that we need to tackle. The evolution of the cloud became a reality back in, I will say, 2008 with this movement of the DevOps, how it has been evolved in the last 10 years. And microprofile was one response that the community and the entire ecosystem had around 2016 to provide to the Java enterprise ecosystem microservice APIs ready approach within this concept of having a TCK, letting people to implement, letting community on open source project to implement the APIs and so on, and with portability in mind. So now we are in 2021, and we are starting to see what's coming next in terms of how to keep adopting and standardizing in Jakarta IE APIs and infrastructure. So these are some of the challenges that we have had from, for example, ACID transaction to volatile consistency, how we are going to handle this within Jakarta EE for the next releases. So there is a lot of conversations for each of the APIs. If you are interested in one of those, you can join any of the mailing lists, or as I don't remember who suggests, you can actually join the EU4J mailing list and keep in touch at a higher level about what's going next with the project. I want to thank you to all of you for attending. We had a couple of questions. Let me see, was every single Java.API transferred to Jakarta IE? Or do any JAVAX APIs remain with Oracle? So I remember that we have, let me go here to that specific slide. Remember this slide. I don't see your name here in the chat, but the donation didn't include the JAVAX namespace. But for example, existing APIs, the decision is that on changing APIs can still use the JAVAX namespace. But that is challenging because at that point you have the hybrid approach in which you will need to know this version of Jakarta, it's going to support only JAX-RS are ready for Jakarta IE. But if you're going to use CDI, imagine that scenario, you will use only JAVAX. So there is a hybrid approach that at the end was not followed. So the big ban, as was mentioned at the beginning of the session, was to do the entire migration once for all. Okay, Alexander's have a really good question. Now that Jakarta paved the ground, what can we expect of the future releases cycle and finally new features in Jakarta? It's what I mentioned. That's a common question. It's a great question. Thank you much. That's a great question. We paved the way. We are paving the way. We are now looking forward to start tackling all those challenges that maybe are still little stones in our shoes in terms of how we can standardize. Remember that Jakarta EE has 20 years that needs to be backward compatible. This package migration was really challenging because, as you know, it will require migration from your side, from the vendors and so on, and the tool sets and everything. But from now, it's up to us, I will say, Alexander, where we want to shape or where we want to go next and keep adopting what the industry currently have and start seeing actually what is coming next. For bleeding edge, for bleeding edge technologies, for testing stuff that maybe at some point can make backward incompatible changes, for trying to catch up with some really new or technologies that are just starting to have the wave. For that, we have microprofile. In microprofile, we can start evolving and seeing if something new makes sense within the ecosystems, and then eventually we can see how this become an API and so on. So now we have that. That is another great news, that nowadays we have microprofile for innovation, for really trying to keep the pace of what the latest and greatest release of something new yesterday. And we have Jakarta for all the standardization and all the mature APIs to keep evolving and adopting eventually at some point this new stuff, because as you know, we cannot balance standardization with innovation, because those have two different pace. That doesn't mean that in Jakarta we are gonna say, okay, we don't want to have releases more often, or we would like to keep the 4 to 5 year release cadence. That's definitely not what the community has spoke, and that's why the release of Jakarta E9 was on December 2020, and now on January 2021 we are finishing shaping with all the community and with all the participants what's coming on, what's going to be the scope of 9.x next, and also start already, and the community is already speaking about. I invite you to join the mailing list, because there are a lot of things there. There is an entire document that Reza and other participant members from the community are shaping for Jakarta EE10. So it's up to us, and I invite you to join, to all of you to join. There is a questions about Cameron. Well, when will the IDs catch up? For example, I don't think you can make a Jakarta E servlet in Eclipse using any of the wizard or tools. I'm not an Eclipse IDE user. I cannot answer directly to say, okay, I don't have the roadmap in mind for that specific project. That is a good question, Cameron. I have seen some other releases, for example, from IntelliJ, that is the IDE that I use, that they already are on the Jakarta EE9 train. But I invite you, Cameron, to paste that question on the Eclipse IDE forums, so you can catch up what's going on. If someone knew the answer, definitely we will see here in the chat the answer. But I am running out of time. Hi, Josh. Nice to see you. Thank you, Chandra, for the feedback. And I really enjoyed this session. I invite you to keep seeing the next sessions. We have machine learning coming, as I understood from great folks. That independently right now, if we are Java champions or not, I think we all are part of the community of the Java ecosystem, the Java enterprise ecosystem. And thank you much for your participation. And for all of those who are all seeing the recording, hit the bell and subscribe, as nowadays is really common to hear at the end of the session. So thank you much, and have a nice day.
Thank you very much, Cesar. It was an excellent session you had there, and the demo worked. And I hope we very soon can see TomEE being certified and among the compatible products. It's looking very good. So congratulations with that, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you much.